What's up everybody, it's Sean here, back today to give you a review of the Nike Ava Rover in this black and anthracite colorway. This is a brand new silhouette coming up from Nike, and it's a pair that I had a lot of questions about. Is this going to be Nike's next big hit? How comfortable are these? And how do these fit? All of those questions hopefully will be answered for you by the end of this video. So this is a brand new silhouette like I mentioned, and the first round of general release colorways dropped last week, and they retailed for a very fair price of $145 US or $180 here in Canada. The official colorway for this shoe is black, anthracite, muslin, and sequoia. And though this is technically a lifestyle sneaker, the key feature of this silhouette is the use of React X foam, which is a technology that's usually found on Nike's running shoes, but they've incorporated it in a large amount on this midsole, but fine-tuned it to be a shoe that you can basically wear all throughout the year. First things first though, here's a quick look at the box. So this comes in a special box just for this release. It's done in this natural brown colored finish, and on the top we have the Nike swoosh along with these 4 rotated squares or diamond shapes, which we'll see later on the shoe itself. And here's a look at the size label. This is different than your typical Nike label. I'm not sure why this change was done, but I think it looks pretty dope and I'm not complaining about it whatsoever. Initially, my thoughts about this silhouette in itself is that it reminds me of the React Element 55 or 87, or even to some degree the Nike Roshe 1. But of course, not counting the midsole technology, there still are a lot of differences on this silhouette that make it stand out and be very unique. So diving into the details of the shoe, on the toe box you can see this is covered in a synthetic suede and has these perforations all over it. Surrounding the sides of the shoe, we have this woven material which feels like a nylon or almost like a windbreaker like material. And on the lateral side we have this embroidered swoosh done in this tonal black color. Where the eyelets are on the exterior, we have these 5 vertical embroidered lines, and then covering the top 2 eyelets we have a TPU or plastic like layer which gives it some added durability. On the medial side, right next to the top 2 eyelets, we have another smaller embroidered swoosh. This is also done in that same black color. And then covering both sides of the shoe on the bottom, we have this TPU layer done in this cream color, and it's finished in this pixelized style, which gives it a very unique look. But from an actual functionality standpoint, having these TPU layers gives you some additional support around the sides of the shoe. So in terms of the eyelets, they're actually hidden. And if you take a look from the inside, it's basically like a thin loop, which allows you to lace up the shoe very quickly. As far as the laces go, so these are a normal flat style black lace, and at least for my pair, they didn't come with a secondary lace option. Underneath this, the tongue is covered in that synthetic suede that we saw earlier on the toe box, and this is also perforated. The top of the tongue is cut in this fork-like shape, and while the majority of the tongue is pretty thin, there's actually a lot of padding around the top of the tongue. The interior of the shoe is covered in a black colored liner, which also feels very soft to the touch. Surrounding the bottom of the heel, we have this reflective layer in the bottom, and there's a woven pull tab done in this dark green color. And then for the insoles, these come with a pretty well padded foam insole. You can see how it kind of has like a sculpted look to it, where it helps to cradle your arches. And then on the heel, we have a black swoosh, along with these 4 angled squares. So the upper of the Ava Rover sits atop this very chunky React X foam midsole. So the midsole is done in this cream color, giving it more of an aged aesthetic. And just like the TPU mudguard above it, it's sculpted in a very aggressive way in this pixelized style. So this midsole itself is actually quite wide. So even though React X is pretty soft, because of the width of this midsole, it gives you a decent amount of stability. And then for the bottom of the shoe, layered on top of the React X foam, we have a thin layer of rubber. You can see we have this waffle style traction pattern, along with a black swoosh towards the lateral side of the heel. So that breaks down the look and the construction of this pair. And I know a lot of you are wondering, how do these fit? So I had no idea how these would fit. I took a chance, got these in my true size, which in my case is a size 10. So keep in mind, I'm a true size 10. My feet are a little bit on the wider side though. So getting these in my true size, they fit me pretty well, but they are a little bit more on the snug side. So I feel like if you have a narrow or normal width foot, or even if you have like a slightly wide foot, you can go true to size in this model. It'll fit you in a nice, snug, sort of one-to-one way. But if you have like a really wide foot, I'd recommend going up half a size, because this shoe is intended to fit more like a sock. It has more of that one-to-one fit. So if your feet are like really wide, I feel like it's gonna cause you discomfort, especially around the toe box area. So for that reason, that's why I'd recommend going up a half size. But for the majority of people out there, assuming you don't hate more of a snug custom fit, then go with your normal Nike size and it should fit you fine. Moving on to the comfort, so overall this is a very comfortable sneaker. With this full-length React X foam, it gives you a good balance of softness with responsiveness. So while there's a ton of foam under your foot, I didn't really feel like it was too soft. Models like, for example, a Vomero 18 or even like a Pegasus Premium, those models have more of that sinking in feeling. Whereas these ones, while they have some of that to some degree, it didn't feel nearly as exaggerated underfoot. So it's still gonna give you a nice plush feel, but I wouldn't say that it's like the most comfy or the most plush sneaker that Nike has out there. But for those that like a bit more stability, I think this shoe gives you a decent amount of that. So it gives you a good balance of everything that you kind of want. If you're going into this expecting that this is like a max cushion sneaker just based off of how it looks, then this is not gonna be the shoe for you. But again, for a budget-friendly, all day, all season sort of sneaker, I think this is a very, very solid option. Finally, in terms of the quality and the craftsmanship, so first off, material quality was really nothing special, but given the price point of the sneaker, I was not surprised. So you're not gonna get amazing materials on this shoe. It obviously utilizes synthetic materials, which makes sense, but I thought the overall build of the shoe was pretty decent. There weren't any major flaws that I could see. The panels between my left and right feet were consistent, and it was free of any major glue stains, and the stitch job was good as well. So all in all, really no complaints about this shoe. If you're going into this expecting like top-notch materials, obviously you will be disappointed, but considering this is like a mass-produced GR that Nike's really gonna be pushing, and again, especially for the price point you're paying, I think this is pretty solid. So with all that out of the way now, let me toss these on feet, I'll lace them up, and I'll show you guys how these look. All in all, I think this is a great, refreshing change from Nike, even though they share similarities from a aesthetic standpoint from models like the React Element 55, 87, or even to a lesser degree the Nike Roshi. But I love this whole pixelized finish on the mudguard and the midsole, and obviously with the use of React X foam, it takes that comfort to the next level over those previous models. So is this going to be necessarily a game changer for Nike? I can't really see that happening unless they start dropping some killer collaborations to really drive up the hype. But for what this model is, I think it's a very reliable, comfortable, decently affordable, all-around sort of sneaker, which would be great for most people's rotations and for most people's closets. So at the end of the day, I think I really can't complain. I prefer when Nike drops these new silhouettes instead of constantly rehashing older retros that we've seen time and time again. And even if this necessarily isn't an instant hit, I can't fault Nike for trying, and I don't want Nike to stop trying. It's important for them to really keep pushing the envelope, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, because if they're solely relying on retros from a lifestyle standpoint, I don't really think that's a recipe for long-term success. So leave your thoughts down below, let me know what do you guys think about this Ava Rover in this black and anthracite colorway. I think this colorway is very clean, very versatile obviously, but leave your thoughts down below about what you think. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I'll link my social media accounts down below for you guys to follow. And as always, thank you for your continued love and support, and I'll catch everybody in my next video.